This podcast, Strange, Rare, and Peculiar, is for kind of those in the know about homeopathy, deepening your knowledge, bringing you more information about what you need to know, and maybe what you can leave aside about homeopathy.
Homeo what?
Homeo what?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Good everything.
Hello. We got Paola Brown on the house. Hello, Paola.
Oh my gosh.
Hey. Poor Al, we're not even 5 minutes into this interview and he's being abused by Denise and I. We're like, you're not recording. He's like, yes, I am. Like, there's no record on the Zoom thing. I'm not recording. Anyways, that was fun.
We also got him to admit how he looks in a frock.
Is my life.
Yes. Welcome to Al World. Al, but what happened to you this morning? Why are we recording a little bit later than we thought?
We're late because once again I have caught myself a wild animal, but not the wild animal.
Was it rabid? Does it have rabies?
It was put it this way. I don't know actually how to describe it.
Well,
it was angry. It was a two-part process of furious, growling anger, and then curled up in a ball, terrified.
Aww.
I wanted to give it some.
And what about the raccoon?
Anyway, that's what it. Boom tish. That's what it's like in the wild parts of the USA.
And can you just real quick talk about your first encounter with a raccoon? Didn't it almost get you? Didn't something happen in the driveway?
Oh, Paola, I got attacked by a raccoon.
I think that's a stretch.
Was that one rabid?
Have
you seen Old Yeller?
Have I seen?
Or read? Is that a book they do in your country, New Zealand? Old Yeller?
No, we don't have raccoons.
No, it's about a dog.
Oh, we don't have dogs. we do have dogs.
Yeah, that goes rabid, and it it. It's not good. Because it's not good to get bit by one of those. Did it bite you?
No, but it tried to, and but I managed to kick it with my left boot.
This is in 2018.
This is 5 years ago. I know, and I mean I'm a pacifist, kind of, and but I landed it like it was. If I was talking to a different crew, this would be Dan Carter dropped goal 2015 in the World Cup final. I nailed that thing, and it came back for more, and I got it again, and then it dusted itself off, and that was the last.
That one could have been rabid for sure.
That was totally.
Yeah. Because it was out in the daytime. Every now and again we get the mangy little ones out in the day. But Al's been trying to catch a groundhog. He's really busy with the groundhogs and the deer.
I wouldn't be so busy with the groundhogs, but I have built my goodly wife four raised garden beds full of dahlias, and I am committed. Garden. This is a cutting garden.
That's nice.
It is. So it's man against gopher.
So it is.
There's no accident that Caddyshack is my favorite movie.
Caddyshack.
Somehow.
I haven't seen that. Mine is My Cousin Vinny. I've never seen the Caddyshack. You know what you do for gophers?
What?
Wait, do you guys like My Cousin Vinny?
Oh my God, are you kidding? Paola.
It's hilarious.
It is the best. So actually, I almost, in my JAHC talk this year, I had a slide, I had a video clip that I took out, and it was about how some homeopaths, like one of the problems is that they can act a little bit strange. They say things that maybe they shouldn't. They
can?
Yeah.
I've never noticed. You're being with sarcasm.
So I had the video clip where Marissa Tomei and Vinny are outside in front of wherever they are. He's working on the cars.
The cabin.
Yeah.
The cabin?
No. Yeah. They're in a town. And she's all mad at him and she says to him, "Oh, and you blend?"
When they're talking about, because he's criticizing her for wearing her short skirt, and they're from New York, and they're in this southern Alabama little town, and he's like, don't dress like that. And she's like, "Oh, and you blend."
Oh, and you blend? Yeah.
I love it. That was probably the best performance. I mean, she got an Oscar for it, didn't she?
I have no idea, but I love that movie. And Lisa, Lisa who works with us, that's her favorite movie ever. She can recite the entire movie. It's so good. And she often does.
That is so fun.
This is actually a good entree into our topic then.
It is, isn't it?
Is it?
Well,
what is our topic?
I just want Al to know real quick before we jump into our topic that I have kicked a rooster, and I think it might have gone farther than your raccoon.
Oh, no, sorry, I just squealed. You kicked it. You, like, drop kicked it.
Well, I was being attacked. I would wear earbuds on the farm when I was doing chores. I haven't lately, but one day this rooster comes flying like from behind, in between my legs, just kind of slides there, and he's like, and I realized but I couldn't hear him because I had the earbuds, and so started attacking me, and I kicked him. But roosters flap, so that helps because they really sail. You know.
Fantastic. Goodness, we are a violent mob, aren't we?
Inadvertently.
Well, don't attack us.
Can I just then, if you're going to talk to me about being attacked by a rooster,
here we go.
Then
It happens every time.
No, it doesn't happen every time.
You're going to talk about the peacock.
But I've been attacked by a peacock.
Oh no!
In full male peacock, in full bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Full bloom.
Whatever the full plumage.
Full fan.
Yeah, and I was 6 years old, and I still have not recovered from it.
And not a day goes by.
And I remind Denise about it every day.
Every day it comes up. And your family talk about it all the time.
Yeah, my family's still into it, right into it.
Eva got attacked by a rooster. It jumped on her head and tried to scratch her eyes out.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
No, I'm not. And we had it for dinner that night.
That'll show him who's
terrible.
boss.
That'll show him. We did it in front of all the other other roosters. We were like,
Look.
see what happened?
Who did the plucking?
Yeah. It was not delicious.
No. Yeah, rooster, not
But you
delicious.
eat it anyway. We're listening to a book on tape. It's actually one of my favorite books from the early 2000s, and it's Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver.
Yes.
I love that book.
Kingsolver, yeah.
I can't wait till we get to the part about how stupid turkeys are. I don't want to spoil it for Al. This is his first go round with it.
But we're listening to the Audible, and it is just lovely. And I said the other night, this is what it was like in the old days, honey. You know, we're just sitting and it's quiet, and you know, and we've just got the radio on, the wireless on.
Yeah.
And
no internet, no cell phone. Here's the thing. Last night I brought my family in, and we do summer goals, and the kids all went through the things they want to accomplish this summer. And I was like, I have something that's going to be awesome but terrifying for you guys. I'm going to like it. Y'all are going to hate it. And then I had them all go around the room and guess what it was. And I was like, no. The olden times didn't have cell phones and screen time. Correct. So we're reading this book that actually Lisa Amarine recommended for me. I'll get it here in a second. But we're going to do an hour a week of no electricity, like candlelight. And it's called the why. I'll find it. Anyways, and then you do 1 week a year with no screen time. Like you can have electricity, but no screen time at all. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna start it this summer. I'm super excited. The kids were pretty concerned. But I mean, we're not even that bad. Like my boys only have flip phones. Like they don't have smartphones or anything. Yeah, it's called The Tech Wise Family by Andy Crouch. And we're gonna do it.
I love it.
So that's like you need the quiet.
You totally do.
Olden times, yeah.
My kids spent the summers off the grid. They went to a camp in Vermont, Farm and Wilderness Camp, where they were off the grid for 8 weeks out of the year. 7 weeks. Maybe 7 weeks, yeah. And the part of the camp that Ben went to, they were in teepees at the top of this. It's not really the top of a mountain, but it's fairly high up, and they had to pump their own water. They had to light fire to get hot water for their shower.
I turned up in their lives around this time, and I was somewhat shocked because I kind of knew in my mind they were going away to camp for 7 weeks, but getting them there meant like driving there meant burgers, like bad food, and grinding heavy metal and gangster rap. Music. As they were kind of
they wanted to get it all out of their
getting
system.
it all out of their system.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like purge. Yeah. Like right before Lent.
And then
yeah, exactly. It's that binge before Lent thing that happens.
Right. Totally. I mean, I'm not even Catholic, but I know. Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's so funny.
And then Twin
Yeah.
Goods.
So I'm excited about it, though. I think as the listeners listen to this on their cell phones and their podcast, I think cell phones and television is poison. I have not brought like a video game console into my home. We have this. We're living in an RV right now. There's a the RV is set up for a TV in the master bedroom, a TV in the main room, and a TV in the kids' room. This RV is not that big, and we have this. It's set up for 3 TVs.
Wow!
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. How do people need this much TV? So of course we only have just the main one in the room, and we don't even use that. Like, it's not connected to anything. We have to plug our laptop in it, and that doesn't even work that well. So it's kind of like I should just pull it out. But it makes no sense to me. Yeah, pull it out.
We don't have a TV. We didn't have a TV when my kids were growing up. We got one for a couple of years.
We got one when my parents came to visit.
That's right. We got cable and a TV when your parents came.
And then did it break after suddenly?
No, then we threw it away.
We got rid of the TV.
Then we got rid of it.
Without explanation. My mother took my brother's, Nintendo game. She pulls it out. She told us to go play outside like 25 times. She pulls it out of the Nintendo game set, walks over to the fire on the oven, on the stovetop, lights it, and then she just waves the game over it. And then she chucked it into the trash. This is a Brazilian woman.
I was going to say.
She chucks it into the trash from across the room. It lands smack into the thing, and she looks at us and like one eye is twitching, and she's like, "Go play outside." And we were like, "Okay, goodbye." And like ran out. Never again did she have a problem with the video games.
I'm trembling. That's terrifying.
This is why I think Paola and I get along, because Brazilian mothers and Italian mothers are kind of the same.
It's kind of terrifying in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
if I just slightly move the needle in the conversation, is this the way that both of you run your organizations?
No.
Yes. No. Not at all.
Not in the least.
No.
No, you don't.
Nobody has any idea how scary I can be, but she's there if needed. She's in there.
Wow.
Same, I think, but rare for me. Rare, but I'm old.
You're not old.
I'm getting there. I turned 40 this year, you guys.
Stop it.
Wow.
Yes, I have white hairs that will not get dyed.
Good.
Wait, for real? Have you decided? Because we've had this discussion many times.
I'm not doing it. My mother is abhorred. She's like, "Okay, Paola, I get it. Organic, natural, very good. But this is too much."
Is her eye twitching when she says that?
No. No. That's just for video games and special occasions.
I love it. Oh my gosh. All right, we got to talk some homeopathy here.
Yeah, we probably should. Sorry.
Just a little bit. Are you kidding? I know. This is because we haven't seen each other.
I know. It's like catching up for fun.
Since what? A month.
It's been a month.
Yeah, it's been a whole month.
But it was also too busy. The JHC it's just too busy. The meetings, all that. You don't get a chance to just sit down and jaw. We couldn't even do the dinner together. But here's the question I wanted to ask you. And that is, one of the things that we sort of talk about, and because we know each other now, we have a lot of shorthand for how we sort of interface with homeopathy and have interfaced over time. And one of the stories, though, that has evolved in our friendship together and our conversations together, because we've known each other now, about 5 years?
Yeah,
5
for
years,
sure.
Is that right? So in that, maybe even a little bit longer. But anyway, in that time, I think the way that you talk about homeopathy, or the way that your sort of interaction with homeopathy education and how homeopathy is practiced, I love hearing it from your perspective, because you are all in, and you came in as a consumer, as a user of homeopathy, and you just went really deep into it. And I mean, obviously, right? You are the chief of the chief of the people, getting the people on board to do the things we need them to do, right? But
President of Americans for Homeopathy Choice, in case anyone doesn't know what the chief of the people means.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Can I just say her eyebrow just started twitching?
It did it? I can't see.
Anyway.
We're Al and Paola can see each other on Zoom, but I'm sitting across from Al, so I can't see. Anyway, but Paola, if you just talk about sort of what has shifted. I mean, you've really, just hearing you talk about this very dynamic experience that you've had in your sort of coming into a position of leadership within homeopathy. Will you just talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
my homeopathy journey has been a long one, and it's it's been equal parts wonderful and stressful. And so it started off by me being very sick with autoimmune diseases, and really to the breaking point of being debilitated, and being greatly helped by homeopathy at first. And then I had to learn that for me personally, classical homeopathy was the way to go, because while I got much better, then I got much worse, and that was a hard thing. And then I shifted into classical homeopathy, which is a really good thing. And, I always tell people, you got to do what works. If it's not working for you, you got to stop. And that's where I had to realize, like, okay. And, classical homeopathy was a little slower than anyone ever wants it to be, but it was more profound and more long-term. And so that was just worth it, So then I was just kind of in this journey, and really the main thing that I started dealing with so I got better, and then when I started getting worse, I think the worst thing I was dealing with was pretty severe, extreme, out of control insomnia, and that was very dark, and so it was classical homeopathy that really turned, and I'd never dealt with insomnia before in my whole life, ever. Like, I was referred to as the sleeping beauty of the family because, 8 o'clock would roll around and this, 8-year-old girl would be like, well, guys, good night. We'll see you tomorrow. I would put myself to bed, which is not common for a child, Usually they want to fight it and stay up. So I was really thankful because it was a very dark time in my life, and I had been on the remedy that actually ended up really turning things around for me, but it wasn't until I did it by itself, and I did it that's where things really turned around for me. But it was during that time that my sleep was getting more stable, but it was still pretty precarious. Like, I still had a lot of anxiety before going to bed. Like, am I going to sleep? Is this going to be okay? That FDA released its at the time, draft guidance. And I read it and I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And so we just started as a group. I knew a lot of moms in the homeopathy community. I like connecting people. I would teach little mommy intro classes, like mom to mom, I'm not a homeopath, as Denise said. And I had a group, a crowd, about 200 of us, maybe, and we all kind of got together, like, what are we going to do about this? So our idea was, let's just do a Facebook ad. That's back when Facebook was funner. And let's do a Facebook ad and get people to comment, because FDA had a comment period open, and just oppose this. Very naive, thinking like, oh, and then that'll fix everything. And that's when one thing led to another. The really big catalyst for us was meeting Jim Turner, our attorney, who passed away a little while ago, about 1.5 years ago. He's the one that helped me understand a Facebook ad and commenting is good. It's not enough. And he really encouraged me to kind of see what we needed to do here. And he was a big proponent of the consumer voice being the most powerful voice in America. And I've seen that firsthand. I've gotten meetings with FDA officials, with senators and congressmen. I've gotten movement that no one else in the homeopathy community has been able to do, or really could be able to do, because that's just where the power lies, is with the consumer voice. So now I'm president of Americans for Homeopathy Choice. We have an amazing organization with amazing volunteers, an amazing grassroots team that is unparalleled in any other natural health world. Like, I have yet to find the level of grassroots team and organization that we have. And it's a thriving organization, a lot of good energy, and we're working hard to defend our access to homeopathy. So that was a lot of info. Did that answer your question? I don't remember what the question was.
Yeah, it really did. It was, I don't remember the question either, but I love the answer.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I wanted, so there are a couple
This is what happens when you get a Brazilian and an Italian.
Yeah.
And a Sicilian.
I was going to say, not just any Italian, but a Sicilian.
In the same room
yeah.
together. By the way, folks, I'm just stepping back. You might have noticed that.
The Kiwi says, I'll be quiet. But there are a couple things, Paola, that you brought up, and kind of just we'll go backwards with it, because one of the last things you said was about how sort of the power of the consumer voice. And I think, because this podcast often draws people who are kind of already in the homeo world, we get into the weeds. There's a lot of insider baseball talk. Although I did hear recently that people who are new to homeopathy listen, they're like, I can understand about half of what they're talking about, but I enjoy it.
Right.
That's pretty great. Anyway, but I think what you said, though, about how the consumer voice is what we need, and that other groups had not been able to sort of, pierce that veil. And I think it's really important for people to hear, because, one of the challenges that we've had has been, we've been kind of a loosely organized professional community, because there had been a lot of division between the different sort of sectors of homeopathy, whether it be the way people practice or the licensure. The naturopaths kind of stuck together, the doctors, the professionals, the nurses, whatever. And so one of the things I think Americans for Homeopathy Choice did was it catalyzed support for the message. And I hadn't really thought about it in this way, but, some of the advocacy work that we do, so, we're all involved with Paola's advocacy work, which how could you not be, right, with the HCC and supporting AFHC. But I think, Paola, and I don't know that we've ever talked about this sort of overtly, but I think it was the way that you were asking of all of us to participate and to really sort of muster action. It got us all talking. You put people in the same room that ordinarily didn't have these conversations,
Right.
And
I wasn't witness to a lot of that fractionated part, because I was just, not involved. But that's what I'm told, is that when Homeopathy Choice came, because here's the thing, Denise, like, consumers may have the power, but they don't have the expertise and the knowledge.
Yeah.
We don't know the pressures a practitioner experiences. Yeah. We don't understand the pressures of a brand owner or a manufacturer experiences.
Yeah.
And so for consumers to have that power, that's fine. But to be effective, you have to work with the community and understand.
That's it. And you got us to have the conversation, whether it was intentional or it just was, the natural outgrowth. But there's a group that started that it was called, the acronym was HAWG. We called it the HOG, and then we were encouraged to not call it the HOG. So now we call it what used to be the HOG. Not the HOG. We're actually meeting today. And we've been meeting once a month on a Thursday for, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a group of stakeholders from a variety of organizations that come together and talk about what we are doing that is actionable in the advocacy space, and sharing with each other. And I honestly think that it's that group that really coalesced, and it came together as a way for us as a community to be up to date on the work that you were doing, Paola, that your group was bringing forward, so that we can understand how to support. And also, we all got educated because we learned about each other's initiatives. And all of a sudden, the walls that were between us became transparent until the walls mostly came down. I
see a lot of unity in the community, and a lot of goodwill, and things get sticky and messy when you're doing advocacy work. There's tough questions you need to ask. There's mistakes that are made. There's misunderstandings. There's all of that. But by and large, my experience has been, okay, when there's a misunderstanding, people just come to me and they clarify and they talk it out.
Yeah.
And it's been a really, really wonderful group to work in and to be part of. I totally agree. I do think that, and the Advocacy for Homeopathy Working Group is hosted by NCH, and so now you're the moderator. Mm-hmm. But for a while there, it was Glenna, and then it was. Anyways, we've had different people. And for the record, I think I should get participation stickers, because I think in 5 years I've missed 2 or 3 total of those meetings. So I just pass that along.
Okay, Sam, I'll get you some stickers.
Yeah, it's been an amazing group, and we've gotten a lot done, and we've gotten that support and that communication, which has been critical for us, because, when we approach Congress, they don't want to deal with a fractionated community. If you're going to put out a proposal, they want to feel good about it. Yep. And that the community is going to support it.
Yeah, there's a way, it's interesting because we're at this funny place where there isn't licensure. Like, there are all these sort of funny hurdles that you sort of can't anticipate, like how the pandemic changed telemedicine. And now we are, and as homeopaths, we've been so far ahead of the telemedicine curve, but now that the medical community has stepped into it, we're going to have conversations about that ongoing. We don't have licensure per se, but one of the things that, and this is actually one of the questions I wanted to ask specifically that goes back to the conversation around your journey, because of the popularity with homeopathy now, which we love. I mean, there is more interest, there's more growth, which means more people can have good jobs, right? Which makes it a vibrant and robust community. But it also means that without licensure and really strong regulation, which I think historically homeopaths have been averse to, it also means that anybody can hang a shingle and say, I'm a homeopath. And I wonder, when you think about it, like your advocacy work and working with the FDA and their sort of historical expectation that we self-regulate, is there any conversation now about the fact that it's a little bit wild, wild west, that we've got people who have, studied a little bit of homeopathy that might not have sort of the case management expertise or the anatomy, physiology, pathology, or the professional ethics education in order to be able to enter into, this space of being an unregulated healing profession? Does that come up in your conversations? Anything about that you want to talk about?
Honestly, Denise, so just so the listener understands, FDA regulates the drugs themselves, right. And that's done at the federal level, the national level. And then practice of medicine is done at the state level, and that's done by the state governance, right? And so, for example, Arizona has a law that on who can say they're a homeopath, and I think you have to be a doctor in Arizona, right? Mm. And I think Nevada has a similar law. And that, maybe there's one more, but that's about it. And so like in Texas, for example, someone could take a weekend course legally and call themselves a homeopath. Nothing's stopping them from doing that. Ethically, right. I think that's a whole nother question. But because we're so involved at the federal level with the drugs themselves, we haven't gotten into too much of the state level stuff. Although I do kind of have it in my periphery, and I notice it, discussions, especially with you, because you guys run a school, and so you guys are really kind of in the thick of that, preparing practitioners to be high quality practitioners or whatever, whatever the words are. But that's just something that we don't deal with very much. And it overwhelms me to think about it because it is a big deal, to make sure that people are working with in any profession. I don't care what profession it is. It's important that you're working with someone who's good. One of the things that I always encourage is to work with someone who has a certification like CCH that's done through a third party. Because, I was talking to people tell me things, they call me and they tell me things, and they'll say, what do you think about this homeopath? Or what do you think about that? And I'm always like, oh, you need to decide for yourself. I hate telling people what to do. I don't feel comfortable with that. But I've heard, it's naive and really irresponsible to think that just because we love homeopathy and we think homeopathy is a better medicine, we want to believe that therefore anyone who calls themselves a homeopath is going to be ethical. I mean, I've heard stories of really unethical, it's naive to think that there would never be impropriety between patient-client relationship or whatever. It's totally naive to think that would never happen in homeopathy, and it does, and it has. And it's, to me, to the consumer, I'm always thinking about the consumer. When you are working with someone that has, for example, CCH or something like that, if something inappropriate happens, you should report that to that body and let them know. Like, I had an experience once at the hospital. I'd had a miscarriage, and the attending the hospital OBGYN came down to check me out, and she did a vaginal exam with her hand, and it was quite painful. She was very aggressive, and I screamed at the top. I mean, it increased. I said, stop, and then got louder, and then it got louder, and I did it 10 times. By the time I was my 10th stop, I was screaming, and she decided when she was done, which I think is totally inappropriate, right? Wow. Consent, stop means stop. That's what I tell my kids all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And then we had this whole discussion where she was trying to throw a bunch of drugs at me that I didn't need. I think she was doing that to absolve herself from her aggressive exam.
Yeah.
And in the end, I did report her to the hospital, and it wasn't mean-spirited. It wasn't because I wanted to ruin her life. But I think it's important for a doctor like that to have an opportunity to learn from a mistake. Because if you don't get called on those things, you become more bold, right? You're going to do that more and more often and take more and more advantage of people. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to tell them what she did. And I said, I don't want to ruin her life or her career or anything, but it needs to go on record, because over time, if one practitioner keeps getting reports like this and then they see a pattern, then you've got a problem. It's not just you had a bad night, you were really tired, you weren't thinking straight. It becomes a pattern. And so like within homeopathy, I feel really comfortable, or I feel more comfortable recommending, when people reach out to me, and I say, well, look for someone with credentialing. Sometimes that could be in the UK if they're working with someone overseas or whatever, but look for someone with credentialing from a third party, from a real entity that you can report to, because that helps protect the patient. But I think it also protects the practitioner too. I think it's important for them to know, so that kind of is a little different than actual state regulations. But I do think it's important, to have high quality and to have recourse for patients. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah, it really does. We're in sort of this interesting time because, if you think about it, what you just said about, you gotta, if somebody isn't performing up to speed, up to snuff, and some of these people are charging a lot of money. I mean, I am shocked to hear the thousands and thousands of dollars that people are paying for often mediocre care. But what, one of the risks is that if you're in the medical profession and you report a doctor, it's like, okay, there's one bad apple. But if you're in an adjunct profession like homeopathy and someone does something egregious, it affects all of us because our credibility
we're under a microscope.
We're under a microscope, exactly, and we have. That's why I think it's better for us to all sort of help each other and to say, oh wow, we got to raise this bar. We need to do a better job because there's more attention on us and our work, and there's that saying, a rising tide floats all boats. Which is true, but there's got to be a corollary to it, which is, how one person can sink the ship. I don't know. I'm looking for a metaphor that I don't really have, but you know what I'm saying, right?
An iceberg can sink any ship. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And that goes the same for where I actually put my time and energy, which is, again, the medicines and the federal level. If you have a manufacturer that screws up, it hurts all of the manufacturers, if they're not doing a good job, or if they, get caught, whatever. That's a concern, and there's a fine line. It's a very scary thing because we're working on a bill. We're working on a bill to introduce and we're circulating it right now. First, we're going to circulate it to manufacturers to make sure it makes sense, and then we're going to be sharing it with probably the Advocacy for Homeopathy Working Group, and make sure we're all kind of, this is clear, this is good, just how I've always done with other efforts that we've done. And I think it is, one person puts a toe out of line and it's a problem. But this is what I was going to say. Whenever you're looking at passing something like a bill, you have to have that freedom. Like, it has to be that you're protecting freedom, not that you're trying to control and restrict. And that's a tricky thing to do. Yeah. And to something that empowers and protects freedom is really the way to go, and so it's sticky stuff for sure. And so we have a really great team of lawyers and we really debate and we really try and get to the right answer, but it's not easy.
I've learned so much from you about this, and I think this is part of going back to the advocacy space and how we all talk from our own perspective. And one of the things that you've talked about that has really enlightened me is this idea about that fine line between empowering and protecting freedom and not getting ourselves into trouble. And it's a really fine line.
It's really interesting listening to you two, because where I come from,
in the land of the peacock,
and the and the kangaroo. It's interesting. We don't talk like that. At least I've not heard a conversation like this. It's a regulation is there, and it is not about freedom. It is to restrict. It's really interesting.
Anytime you're trying to protect someone, you're restricting things.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a slippery slope. It gets very slippery because to protect someone to an extent, you can end up disempowering them too. For example, if someone just believes that homeopathy is quackery and we're trying to protect the consumer from having access to this quackery stuff, suddenly you're in a bad place and it's not okay. People should, as long as it's safe, which homeopathy is, people should have the freedom to choose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people should have like we are right now. Right now, homeopathy in a lot of states doesn't, like in Texas, like you don't have a word that controls who is a homeopath. But that's great to an extent because you can go out and choose. And so to me, my goal is always to educate and empower the consumer with information so that they can go out and make those decisions. But it's hard because there's different levels of informed consumers and what they're looking for. Because I remember when I started out, I had no idea what was a good homeopath versus not. And it was kind of a shot in the dark, it felt like,
You just had, I don't know why these two things just linked to me, but I sent you a screenshot from an email that I got where you were featured on, was it a podcast or what, with the, what's it called? The Citizens for, what is it?
Oh, yeah.
Right? The,
Kennedy.
Oh, I know. Children's Health Defense.
That's it. Children's Health Defense. Yes.
That's right. You did send me that. I remember that.
I
was there.
I need to know everything. This was so, I'm like scrolling through the email I got and there you are. I was like, Paola, go girl. What happened? Tell us.
Oh, that was really fun. So we just, I don't even know how some of these things come together, but they first interviewed Laura and I on their show to talk about the advocacy. This is around the time that the FDA was recently finalizing the guidance and people were really freaking out, which Laura and I were actually not freaking out because we knew this day would come and we were preparing for it for a long time.
Yeah.
So they interviewed us there, and Polly, who is part of Children's Health Defense, she's very interested in homeopathy. So we had a great discussion there with Laura. But then at the end of that, after we were done being live and after the cameras were turned off or whatever, one of the gals was like, I would love to have you back to talk about my other kind of hat that I wear, which is my curriculum, teaching kids. And so that's how I got on the show to talk about that. And that was a really fun discussion.
Oh,
is that the question you asked?
yeah. I mean, I can't say enough how much I love that curriculum. I felt so honored when you asked me, oh, can you read it through for whatever, make
for
sure.
an endorsement to give me feedback and yeah.
And you were also wanted to make sure that the homeopathy was, kind of in a line.
I'm not a practitioner. Right. I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to. Yes, exactly.
Well,
did I just hear the word yet?
What?
No, you did not.
I just heard the word yet.
I don't. No,
that slipped up. You definitely said that.
I did not want to be on. I would be the worst student. I wouldn't stay on task. At the beginning of this call, that's what it would be like.
All right. I've definitely heard you say that 1,000 times, but today I heard the word ...
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
No.
All right. Don't push it. Just write it down.
No, just write it down.
But I love that curriculum, and I can't say it enough. I tell you every time. I absolutely love it.
Nice.
I love
it too, and the story was really kind of the heart and soul of that curriculum, and you had a team review like the workbooks and this teacher's manual and everything, and it was really, but it's kind of hard to mess up the very foundational basics of homeopathy. Although I guess maybe it's not hard. Some people might do that, but yes, I was so honored that you endorsed it, and
forget the endorsement. I literally love it, and I can't say I love something if I don't. It's not in my genes. I love it. I love the story. I love my favorite part is when all the kids were they at the grandmother's house and everybody was sleeping. Yes. The house was full, and they made the salsa, and oh my gosh, it was really, the story is about, it's really inspired from my husband's side of the family. We were little immigrants. I had me and my two brothers, and it was just our core family, no extended family hardly.
but my husband is like the opposite of that. He's the oldest of 10 children, and his father is one of 15 children.
Wow.
And just like a typical, Western United States farming family. He had a dairy farm growing up, Jason's dad did.
Wow.
And so when we have these giant family reunions, it was just like this little like immigrant Brazilian was just like, this is wild. And they're all cowboys. They wear like big cowboy hats. They've got the belt buckles, the Wranglers. Like we have one cousin that ropes and is like, and his wife was like the rodeo queen. So like they're just cowboys. And so that was really inspiring to me to work into the story. So in the story, they're all there for this big family reunion, and you kind of get the lay of the land. And then what ends up happening is they all come down with an illness. And we refer to it as the Brown Plague because it's the Brown family. And this actually happened. We all, at the end of a reunion, got very deathly sick with, I honestly think it was swine flu at the time, which, was not a fun flu. And so Evie in the book is following Grandma around. She gets better first, then Evie gets better second. And she's just like asking all those questions, like, why are you throwing away the acetaminophen? Why are you, what's this bone broth? Like just kind of asking all the questions. And then it leads into, well, let me tell you the story of Samuel Hahnemann. And so it just kind of, the whole book goes on. And then Grandma leaves. And the last half of the book is when my dad, the character, inspired by my father, comes in. And my dad actually grew up seeing a homeopath. He was, as a child, seen by a homeopath. And we figured that out because I was given phosphorus as a constitutional or a chronic remedy. And my dad, I was like, hey, Dad, pray that this remedy is the right one. This is back when I really had a lot of insomnia. And my dad was like, okay, what's the name of the remedy? I'll pray for it by name. And I was like, it's called phosphorus. And he was like, what? Because he was like, that's the one that they gave me as a kid. I guess he was a homeopath. But him was just the doctor. And so my dad tells all these stories of him growing up in Brazil. And my dad was kind of like partially a street kid because he was very, very poor. Like they would stuff toilet paper into the walls to insulate it, So very poor. And so he just grew up on the streets playing soccer with his buddies, shining shoes and stuff. So he tells all of these stories of situations that he actually had as a child.
Wow.
But I incorporated into each story some sort of injury, which leads to the kids learning a remedy. So there it is.
I'm going to read it again. It's going to be like how I read Harry Potter and watch the movies every summer. I think I'm going to have to do EV every summer too. I love it.
We have it on audiobook. If you can stream it from my website. And
you read it?
Yes, you want to? Yes, yeah. You want to hear a cool story?
Yeah.
I wanted to get this. Eva and I have been listening, when she was younger, to this little series of books by Rebecca Cottle called Happy Little Family. And there was this narrator that just like, I love this narrator, and I'm a narrator snob. I need a good narrator. And I just was like, she'll never do it for me. Finally, Eva's like, just write her. And I was like, fine. And I wrote this woman, and I was like, I probably can't afford you, and you probably don't have time in your schedule, and you probably don't want to do this. And I was like, but I love your stuff. Would you be considered? She writes back, you guys, dead serious. And this is like a Random House level narrator. She writes back to me and she goes, not only would I love to do your book for 50% off, but I am seen only by a homeopath.
What? Oh my gosh.
Really?
I know. And she was like, so I would love to. And she said to me, I do a lot of books, but your book is on my coffee table in my living room.
Stop it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, Eva, you're so smart.
Yes.
She was like, come on, Mom, dream big. Like,
I was just going to say thank you, Eva.
Wow.
Yes, thank you, Eva.
I love it.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's
I
next?
got asked to do an audible.
Narrate.
Yeah, thank you. That word. Narrate.
Really?
I got asked to narrate my own books, and I look at them. I go, "Are you kidding? I don't want to do that."
Really?
Yeah.
You would be an excellent narrator.
I think so.
I feel like this is like an untapped gift you might not realize you have. I would listen to a book by you.
Totally.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
When you read
100%.
poetry, it's so beautiful. We got a wedding gift from a friend that was a book of poetry. It's Neruda. Isn't it? Yeah, and it's the poems are in English on one side and in Spanish on the other. And Al does not speak Spanish, So he reads the Spanish version with with a really peculiar accent and inflection.
Yes.
And it usually starts with his own made up Spanish-ish words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't
And
it?
it always includes something like Del Fuego or something.
Del Fuego.
That's not a curse word, right?
Del Fuego. No, it's a place. Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's right. It's near Antarctica.
But
Bottom
you-
of South
Are you
America.
fluent in Spanish? Like you're fluent?
No.
no, he doesn't speak
I don't speak
Spanish.
any Spanish at all.
Oh, I see.
That's
Got
what
it,
makes
got
it so
Luis
good.
speaks it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, café con leche.
But I think you'd be a
It's
good
not your word.
narrator,
All right.
for sure.
Anyway,
So what's on the agenda, Paola?
what's happening?
Is there anything that people need to know? Because you're busy, you're
Well,
doing stuff.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, and so what we have at Homeopathy Choice. We have two things that are going on right now. Well, one is currently this week we're doing a pledge drive. So if anyone ever is like, man, I wish I had time to volunteer, but you want to donate to our effort, that is always greatly appreciated. We have a Bear Pack that you can donate $25 a month to.
I'm a Bear Pack member.
Yes, you're so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh,
Al,
that's the least I can
Are you
do.
a Bear Pack member, Al? Just kidding. You both are because you're married.
I both are.
No.
Yes, definitely. I do.
Did I ever send you that hat? I was supposed to send you a hat a long time ago. I'm gonna get back on that.
Yeah.
That's just gotten to the top of the list.
Thank you.
So yes, but what we're working on is we have an amazing hat team. The hat team is an acronym for Homeopathy Action Team. So I guess it's hat team. But anyways, so we are working with them. They build relationships with their members of Congress. And this year, what we did is we are working on getting an appropriations bill inserted into the language. Now, an appropriations language is basically where Congress appropriates money to different efforts. And this would be like a cut funding type thing. It didn't get into the bill during the first iteration, but there's some opportunities. We're going to try and work it in and get it into the bill. But anytime an appropriations bill is passed, that bill only lasts a year. So it's definitely like a short-term solution, but strategically, it's very smart to do this because you're meeting with offices and you're giving them a solid ask. We want you to do this for me. And it pushes them to take action, to take steps, which energetically is really helpful to kind of identify, the ones that are willing to help, the ones that are willing to take a step. What are they willing to do? Some offices weren't willing to submit the language to the Appropriations Committee, but they called the FDA and kind of did some pushback. So it's just a really great opportunity to get offices to do stuff and put energy towards our effort. But our ultimate goal is to pass a piece of legislation that would be kind of a forever legislation. And it would empower access to homeopathic medicines. Ultimately, what the FDA is doing is, because legally homeopathic medicines are drugs, and that's per the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, they're classified as drugs. FDA has up until 2017, always been like, yes, they're drugs, but we totally get it. They're different. All of these laws that we're creating are for chemical pharmaceutical drugs because they keep killing people, basically. But homeopathy doesn't do that, so it's fine. The big shift was in 2017. They said, no, we're going to start treating them exactly like drugs, which, due to the unique nature of homeopathic medicines, is going to kill homeopathy. It will. And so our legislation would be like, okay, let's treat homeopathic medicines as unique and apply a law that makes sense for them. And so we've spent a lot of time studying like the Canadian law. They have a really nice structure for homeopathy over there. We've got the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of the United States. That's something that is in the law in the United States. We have just different pieces of the puzzle. We've been working with an organization called the National Homeopathic Certification Board, which would be kind of an internal regulation, like from our community, to kind of certify, like, okay, this is actually homeopathic. That CBD oil is not homeopathic. Kind of do it, because the FDA doesn't do that. Although they should, they don't. They don't care if a product is labeled homeopathy. They will enforce it. The FDA's first step should be, is this product labeled homeopathy actually homeopathy? And they don't do that.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, that's what the National Homeopathic Product Certification Board is working on. So we're kind of putting all these pieces together, but our main driver is going to be that piece of legislation. And we're working on that with our grassroots team, who, I have to say, the entire homeopathy community has no idea that there is like a little juggernaut, or not a little juggernaut, a juggernaut of advocates that are very powerful, that are very trained, and are very eager to help homeopathy. And they show up every month to do their work, connect with their offices, talk to them, maintain that relationship. So that when we have a bill, we're hopefully going to get someone to introduce it, hopefully someone on both sides of the aisle, and make it happen. So
that is
that's
so
kind of a summary.
important. So important. I love that. Wow. So many of our AHE students are a part of.
Yeah, you mentioned Laura Held before, didn't you?
Yes, Laura is a student of yours. And a lot of times what I see is like they become HAP members and they are so impassioned by homeopathy that they trickle over to going to school somewhere. And a lot of them do go to your school, which is great. I love it.
Pretty awesome.
We do too.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
All right. Well,
I'll see you later this afternoon.
Are you too?
Well, we have an 11 o'clock, the HCC call, right?
Oh,
and then we have a 3 o'clock.
It's 11 now. Oh, do you mean 11 your time?
Yeah, 11 my time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be on that one from the car. I've got some errands to do. We're having a party on Saturday.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Anyway, Paola, I know how busy you are, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of this conversation.
No, I'm so sorry. We rescheduled more than once. I think twice. That's so embarrassing, but
Who's
you guys
counting?
have been very patient. Thank you.
That's okay. We can fill it in with other stuff. But it feels important to make sure that people who just might be sort of on a periphery in homeopathy and don't know what's happening in the other reaches get to hear the message.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to just do one thing to support us, go to homeopathychoice.org, actually homeopathychoiceaction.org, and become a free member. If you go to homeopathychoice.org, it'll still take you to Action. Basically, we've been a 501c3 for a long time, but now that we're working on introducing a bill, we're shifting into 501c4, which is what allows us to lobby. And so, anyways,
Great.
that's what the Action is all about, to legally keep us,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go to homeopathychoice.org, become a free member, and that just means you're signing up to our email list. And you become a member of us by being on our email list, and we'll keep you updated. So
do it.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you for having me. It was really, really fun. I love it.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You take
All
care.
right,
Have a
Paola.
lovely day.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye guys.
My name is Kaylee, and I'm a graduate of the Academy of Homeopathy Education. As a homeschooling mother of young children, I wanted to find a way that I could pursue my dream of becoming a professional homeopath. The faculty at AHE welcomed me with open arms and helped me find my path. If you've been waiting for a sign to apply, this is it. Learn more at ahe.online.